From my friend and colleague, Ariana Platt. Who would I be if I had been born in a different land under a different sky, shaped by a different language and legacy? How much of who I am has been sculpted by geography, history, family, religion, and the rules of culture I was born into? When we walk this earth, we're not blank slates. We're born into stories already in motion. We're shaped by forces that surround us long before we can name them. And yet, beneath all that, something original lives. And yet, beneath all that, something original lives. A self that remembers the soul's design. An inner voice that predates the noise. Oh, I want to read that sentence again. An inner voice that predates the noise. So I wonder, who would you be if you lived from your original self rather than the self formed by expectation? Who is the inner you, encoded with truth and timelessness? What if nothing had ever pulled you away from your inner knowing? What if nothing had ever pulled you away from your inner knowing? What is sacred, sovereign, and soul deep within us? Ariana. Can you feel the wisdom? Can you feel the truth? Feel the holy design of who you are. Feel your divinity. I invite you to live the truth of your ideal self, your spiritual audacity. There is a story of a young woman who was raised in a family who wasn't allowed to have her voice. Yeah, sure, she could speak, but she wasn't allowed to speak. You know what I mean? To truly have a voice in her family, she was raised to be quiet. And then one day, as an adult, she was called to speak in front of a group of people, and she stood up and she was like, boom. And someone said, "Where did that come from?" And she said, "I don't know, I think it was in me all along." She found her strength, her voice. She found her message. We affirm all the time that we are one with the one presence and the one power, and yet we over and over again diminish who we are. We are one with that consciousness that is God. We just are. It is not separate from us. It cannot be separate from us. We cannot be separate from it. We just simply have to remember the best we can with each moment that we have spiritual authority. Dust in the wind. I love this song. You guys know I love Kansas anyway, but all we are is dust in the wind. And what is kind of, I'll tell you a little story about Kansas, but not Kansas the band. So what we have right here in this image is a zodiacal road, interplanetary dust. We are interplanetary dust. And this zodiacal road is sunlight reflecting off of a stream of dust that orbits the sun in the inner solar system. It's visible in both hemispheres twice a year around both equinoxes when it's at its steepest or narrowest angle to the Earth's orbit and points nearly straight up into the sky. It appears as a fairly dim triangle of light stretching up from the west in the spring and the east during the fall. So within that sunset, if you can see the brightness coming up out of the middle of it, that's who you are. You are interplanetary dust with all those stars. Here's another image. And this is with the Milky Way galaxy. How often do we stop to remember that we are a part of this majesty? And the thing I wanted to say about Kansas was, I remember one time at the Kansas City airport, which happens to be across the line in the state of Kansas, the Kansas City airport, and the sunset was amazing. The sky was so red, it was just breathtaking. And I was coming home from a week at Unity Village where I had already just been immersed in the light of God. And someone told me that the sunsets are so beautiful and red because of all the dust from the fields that filtered the sunlight. And I had never stopped to think about that before. Again, dust in the air. Every time you think about the air quality in Merced County, instead of seeing it as unhealthy, see it as cosmic dust and transform that, reinterpret that. Call it good. Call it part of God. And I love this image. This one you can really see that image up in the middle. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Part of the allness of everything that is. And at the same time, we live in this world. In this human, physical, skin and bones world. Now, I don't know about some of you, but over the last, well, for quite a while now, finding a way to keep myself centered in the light and the love with the extreme behavior that's going on in our country. I would love to be able to get up here. I so look forward to getting up here one Sunday when I don't have to speak to the inhumane treatment of people in our country and on our planet. But as a metaphysical unity minister, I feel that I have a responsibility for us to hold the whole picture and not forget the ones who are being targeted and suffering right now. Oh, sure, we can go into our metaphysical mantra pose and om all day long. Now, if we're holding the light and love in the right way, we are benefiting the world, we are benefiting the planet. But if we are going into spiritual bypass and I have to turn my ears, my eyes away from everything, we have to be in the world. But we also have to find a way to not let it affect our health and well-being. We have to find that balance to be able to hold the truth and to hold the love so that we are helping to lift up the light. And that is why it is so important for us to take the writings of Ariana to say, who are we truly? Who am I truly? How am I showing up in the world? Am I shining my light? Am I expressing my light so that I can be a part of the healing, not only for myself, but for our world? I feel that we have a responsibility to do both, and I know that many of you do as well. And it has to start with us, with our own personal journey. Even the dust reflects the light. We may feel small, we may feel shaped by the past, but even in the dust of life, the chaos, the confusion, the clutter, there is a radiance waiting to shine through us. That light is your spiritual identity. That's your superpower. That's your calling card. Hold on to that. Grow it. Lift it. And so that takes us to the Beatitude from Matthew 5:5. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. I think I've got the other. The blessed are the meek is how you usually see it, is how you usually hear it. Blessed are the meek. Now, normally in our language, we would think of meek as being soft-spoken and maybe even weak. But that is not what this beatitude is talking about. That is not what Jesus was talking about. And that is certainly not who the man Jesus was as portrayed in the New Testament. Strong and powerful and clear and a social justice warrior, and yet he was gentle. And through that gentleness was his power. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth being our external reality. A Greek interpretation, enriched are the gentle in spirit, for they will receive good, life-giving land. Fortunate are those not arrogant or domineering, for they will have their place to stand, their place to live richly. In the Aramaic, ripe are those who soften what is rigid inside and out. They shall be open to receive strength and power, their natural inheritance from God. Aligned with the one are the humble. Those submitted to God's will, they shall be gifted with the productivity of the earth. I love that word, humble. Humble is teachable. Humble is gentle. Humble is willing. From the book, Jesus and Mastery. How fortunate are those who do not try to overpower others and bend them to their own personal will. They express God love toward all and will be rewarded with abundant love and all good. A call to keep our hearts open, to empower ourselves, to empower others, and not power over other people. From Thomas Merton, I have come to think that the care of the soul requires a high degree of resistance to the culture around us, simply because that culture is dedicated to values that have concern for us. I think I left out no. I have come to think that the care of the soul requires a high degree of resistance to the culture around us, simply because that culture is dedicated to values that have no concern for us, I think is the actual quote. It's interesting that I left out that word. But you get the sentiment. of what he's saying, right? We live in this world, but we have to be careful how the world, what we allow the world to feed us. We have to be mindful of what we take in. We want to make sure that we're staying spiritually centered, spiritually charged. We are here for a reason. We are here for a purpose. And only you can determine what that purpose is for you and how you are going to show up. In your own individual, personal, spiritual evolution, and in this great transformation that we find ourselves in at this moment on our planet, for we are transforming and we are in a time of great paradigm shift. And we can either be a part of the light or a part of the problem. And each of us gets to choose how we are going to hold that in consciousness. You are not just dust in the wind. You are light in the dust. You are a soul in a body, not a body with a soul. You are the expression of spirit, unique, powerful, and eternal. You are here to remember and to live from that divine remembrance. Throughout the week, find your peace, find your strength, find your power, find your true spiritual identity, and live from that place and be audacious, not just for yourself, but for everyone. And so it is.